You're listening to the Ones Ready podcast, a team of Air Force Special Operators forged in combat with over 70 years of combined operational experience, as well as a decade of selection instructor experience. If you're tired of settling and you want to do something you truly believe in, you're in the right place. Now here's your host, former Prep Course Ops Superintendent and current Special Reconnaissance Training Guru, Trent Segmiller.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Ones Ready podcast. I want to welcome you all here, boys, girls, brothers, sisters, future teammates, and the casual observers. I know you're out there, and I still appreciate you. So go ahead, while you're at it, hit subscribe, hit like, leave us some comments. Jared's not here today, so you'll have to wait for another time to jump in on some short jokes. The company in focus today is Out of Regs Pomade. That's Out of Regs with an S, not a Z, because they're awesome and they're not something else. So what I use is Out of Regs Beach Bum, and it is fantastic. It is the only PJ, I don't know, hair care product that's approved.
Yeah, PJ approved.
Yeah, I'll put the stamp of approval on that one. Speaking for every PJ, past, present, and future, Out of Regs Pomade is the pomade of choice.
Right, so it's perfect. So go ahead, jump on the website, order you some pomade, order you some Beach Bum. It's awesome. It's like coming back from the beach, put it in your hair. You'll look like you'll look like better than me, but with the same level of hair. So you're welcome.
Just
today's episode, right? Not to be like too extravagant today. Today we have one of my good friends. His name is Rick Bullard, or you can just call him Bull. He worked for the 330th Recruiting Squadron. They're the ones that bring in all the AFSPECWAR guys into the military. So without further ado, Rick, you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about your background?
Sure. Hello. And I really have to step my hair game up because now that I'm retired, I believe the receding hairline is just starting to kick in. So,
did you have to turn the hair back in? Is that what happened? Like when you retired, they were like, "All right." When you were here, you had hair.
Checklist.
Yeah. I thought that was an Army thing.
Throwing that Ones Ready promo code, bro.
Hey, Ones Ready at checkout, homie. Get some of this hot pipe hitter on your locks. You'll look great.
All right, I'll definitely get on that. So a little bit about my background. 20 years Air Force. Started my days out at Pope Air Force Base for about the first 6 years. So there I was in a maintenance squadron. Really awesome that I got Pope Air Force Base because obviously there's a lot of things to do there. You've got we cater to the 82nd Airborne and we cater to, I believe, the 2-1 there. And I got to meet a lot of really cool people. Got to do a lot of really cool missions. I won't bore everybody to death with those, but fast forward to the last 3 years that I was in, I got the interesting opportunity to become a part of the 330th Recruiting Squadron. I had already been in recruiting for several years and got the phone call that, hey, we're going to stand up a recruiting squadron just for 6 career fields. And we think you're the right guy for the job. I don't know why they thought that, but hey, yeah, that's the way things go sometimes. We all went into it with the mindset that we were going to do it the way that we had learned from the past, that we were going to make some adjustments and actually try to send quality folks to these career fields that desperately needed people for the incredible things that you do. And so pretty humbled to get to be a part of that. And, as I think Trent has said, that was kind of like a multi-function tool for that squadron, or a Swiss Army knife, however you say it. But
every squadron has one of those. Every squadron has that belly button where you just know if you walk into their office, no matter what the request is, that person's going to figure it out for you. I've had the luxury of having several like logistics female senior NCOs that I could just go to that knew every single process in every single world. So that's definitely how you were described, and I think that's exactly who that. That's who you were. That's what role you played for, especially the start of the 330th.
Well, I'll take any compliments I can get. So, keep them coming. That's where I met Trent. So we come up with the idea to integrate all of the special operations recruiters, or special warfare recruiters now, integrate them into these career fields so that they had a better understanding of what they were talking about if they didn't have a background that dealt with any of that career field. If they were a cop or they were a mechanic, we felt like we could give them a little taste, and the best way to do that was to take them to prep and other schoolhouses, the PJ Schoolhouse, Combat Control Schoolhouse, and just immerse their butt right into training. And that's kind of where I don't know if I made a name for myself or whatever, but I felt right at home. I've always kind of been into fitness a little bit, so I really enjoyed that. And then I ended up at Prep as the Special Warfare Training Wing Liaison. That's a mouthful to say, believe me. But from there, the rest is history. So.
Yeah, and by immerse, you mean we brought in other recruiters and gave them a little taste of what it's like to be a special warfare candidate, and it was nothing but a good time.
Just smash. Yeah, welcome to the show, boys. Smash.
Yeah, I gotta say it's a step up from what we used to do, because we used to just have the recruiters pile in because the recruiting school was across the base. So we'd have guys pile into the classroom there, and we'd show them slides like, this is what PJs do. This is kind of what our pipeline looks like. And then they'd sit there for an hour or two and then say, all right, let's take you out of the pool. You can watch some guys, gasping for air for a little bit, and then you go on your merry way, and you never really think about it again until that one candidate comes up and they're like, hey, I'm interested in pararescue. And you're like, let me just Google stuff on the internet again. So getting them to experience, what the students are actually going to go through helps prep them for, like you said, the past test and just all the future, things that these people are going to go to. So talking about that kind of thing, what do you see as the biggest changes that you implemented, or changes from the recruiter side? And then how do you get a guy, or how do you change the status quo for getting a guy from off the street to into SW?
Yeah, great question. When we went into this, obviously there was already a process in place. Guy or girl comes in, hey, I want to be a part of this career field. Okay, cool, man. We got you covered. You would go, take your ASVAB, take your MEPS, and then we would put you through a pass test. And that was what was believed to be, oh man, this guy can slay the pass test, so obviously he's going to be the next PJ.
That's
as hard as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, right?
Well, you know what's funny about that? I wasn't within 100 miles. That was the rule back when I cross-trained, was you had to be within 100 miles of a unit. And if you were, then you had to have your test administered by a PJ or a combat rescue officer or not. Yeah, at that time, crows. Like basically now one of the, what we call the AFSPECWAR warfare career fields, right? But I wasn't. So like I got my test administered, my pass test, by my E5 supervisor that was also a phys tech. He's a great dude, and he knew what it, he knew what the career field was about. But that's how I got in. They were just like, yeah, here's your pass test. Just show up at INDOC. I was like, all right, cool.
Air Force style push-ups are different than INDOC style push-ups.
Yeah, well, it was a little different because I knew what I was getting into. He knew too, so he held me to a really high standard, and he knew we weren't playing around. So it was good. What's up, easy? Thanks for.
You didn't actually get 100. I'm just saying.
No, I didn't. I got 52 push-ups to start, Brian. Don't be mean. And he took away 40. Shut up.
Ooh.
Yeah, and that's kind of the mindset we went into as well. And luckily for me, when I first got into recruiting service, we had the Sorrel program. And I think his name is Greg or Gary Waldheim. Sorry if I'm butchering that, buddy, if you're listening, but old combat controller. And he would go out, he would administer pass tests, and guys would pass, and he would be like, nope, it's not going to work. And this obviously just blew our minds. Like, well, what do you mean, brother? Like, he's qualified to do this job. So it was just a part of the test that he would put them through. Like, he felt like if you took something away from them, that they like see how they react a little bit, and then he would put them through a real workout, and then another workout, and then there was no slap on the back, there was no nothing, whereas recruiting service at the time was like, man, you passed the pass test, we're going to buy you a car. Basically.
Nice. Well, I can't believe you did this. Here, you're in.
Absolutely.
So thinking about your experience with, seeing people all the way from the very beginning, like civilian off the street, all the way through their, development sessions, which again, like, man, we'd love to talk to one of those developers. So if you know anybody, put in a good word for the One's Ready team. We'd love to have them on. It'd be great. It'd be super duper awesome. But we'll figure it out. Yeah, my man. Put a bug in somebody's ear for us, But what are some of the things that you've seen that people can prepare for? They ask us all the time, what should I start looking ahead to? So what are some of the things that you've seen in the development sessions and all the way through prep that people, no kidding, now can start preparing for to be successful?
Yeah, obviously I got to travel around. I got to go to most of the developers' development sessions, and everybody has a little bit of a different style. Obviously, they come from all different career fields, and these guys are extremely good at what they do, and they have huge hearts. So they're trying their best to take a Joe Schmo sitting on the couch that hasn't ever exercised a day in his life to the right mindset, the right nutrition, the right workouts, and moving forward. Some of the trends that I saw, especially once I got to the prep level, was people do unfortunately still slide through the cracks. They can rock it out on a pass test, but then they get in the pool for the first time, and
it's different, homie. There's levels.
Different.
Like there's levels to this game. And again, just like Trent was saying earlier, Brian mentioned on a previous podcast, you think you're great. You're like, oh, I'm knocking out 70 push-ups. I'm smashing this thing. This is awesome. Well, that harsh reality of the first time that somebody looks at you and goes, nope, 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 6 or 7 times in a row, that's tough. And the pool, there's levels to the pool. There's being comfortable by yourself, and then there's performing in the moment. And it's different.
Absolutely. And I think that would be my biggest advice to somebody brand new on the street would be like, look, you're essentially about to learn another language, and it's one of the hardest languages in the world to learn. And you're not going to start out by having a conversation about astrophysics in this language. You're going to start out with hello, goodbye, and work your way up. So
that's a fantastic way to look at it. I've never heard it described by that, in those terms or like that. That's awesome.
Where's the bathroom? How do I get a waiver? The basics.
Seeking medical sergeant.
Seeking medical, yeah.
I don't think I want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Classic.
All right, man. So my next question is, when people start working with the developers, when people come off the street and they get the workouts and all this other kind of stuff, they might have a misconception about how much work they need to do on their own versus just coming to the development sessions. Do you have any numbers you can throw at us about how much work they should be doing versus just coming to the development sessions in order for them to be successful?
No, that's a fantastic way of thinking about it. And what I have to relate it to is the civilian population that I work with, and a lot of the similar type of question comes up quite often. Is like, I'm running a marathon next year, or I'm going to lose 20 pounds this year, or whatever the goal in place is, and they're like, what should be my focus on nutrition? What should be my focus on the workouts or the mindset? And my answer is always this: is focus 100% on each one. As cliche or silly as that may sound, that's kind of the way I feel. Like, you give 100% attention to your nutrition, 100% attention to your workouts. And in this case, give 100% of attention to whatever your developer's telling you to do, and give 100% attention to what you're doing around the clock when you're not with that developer, because you're going to maybe have 2 development sessions a month. That's not going to be enough to get you ready for what's to come. So
every time I hear that question, I just want to, I'm a little bit more aggressive when people ask questions. I'm always the guy on the Instagram that's, I'm like, did you Google this? This question is already answered. Like, we already talked about this and this podcast or whatever. So I'm always that guy, but it always cracks me up when people are like, well, should I pay 80% attention to this and whatever? Like, this is your life. This is your career. You want to go do this, and you want to live the motto. If you're a PJ, you want to say, that others may live, or eyes forward, or whatever it is that you want to, whatever your why is. Why would you only devote 80% attention to parts of it? Don't you want to give everything 100%? Like, that's kind of like a mindset switch that is a little bit hard to figure out for people that, haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, sure. And I think for those guys that are thinking about it and they're trying to do the equations in their head, it's not talking about you having 500% or 1,000%. It's talking about every single task. You write it down, and these are one of the keys that I tell to some of the guys that are trying to prep out there. Like, you write down in your journal, Sunday night, this is what I'm going to do. And that is 100% of your attention is devoted to planning out your week. And then you wake up that next morning, 100% of your attention is going to get your stuff ready, get your gym clothes on. And then
100% of that attention, you packed your meals ahead of time, and you got that first meal of the day, or that post-workout meal of the day.
When you're doing something, the people that are the most effective in life are not the people that are doing 20,000 things at a time. Because I had a long period of time where I was juggling, business, kids, school, job, all that other stuff. And it wasn't that I was doing 10% of each thing, marginally well. It was that when I was doing something, it was 100% of my effort was involved in, and 100% of my focus in that thing, and making sure that I did the best that I can with the time that I had.
And that's
the
moment,
same thing for you guys.
Yeah, sorry. And that moment will come in the pipeline where it will require 100% of your focus, attention, and effort to get past that event. So if you start working that thing now and develop those skills, because it's a skill just like everything else, that'll allow you to reach down, focus, and then get past it and be successful.
Yeah, I thought those things are huge right there. So yeah, great comment. So going back to the beginning, I know we used to, when I was in Indoc, we always had, our kind of our horse, I guess, for lack of a better term. But, it was a guy that we were like secretly, we were watching them throughout the development course, because we used to have a development course before prep was around. It was 2 weeks long prior to you actually going into Indoc. So we were just trying to figure out, what's driving a guy and try and pay attention to their facial expressions as we got things a little bit more difficult. And we would just be like, is this guy going to make it? Inevitably, we're pretty much always wrong, except one guy every once in a while would just get lucky and pick it. But what are some of the things that you guys are setting up? Because obviously you're kind of the initial people that they're going to end up meeting when you set up the 330th. What did you guys set up for, the attitudes, the behavior to look for? Like if you were to tell a recruiter, like, this guy I think is probably going to make it, or this guy's not going to make it. And what are some of the things that you guys look for?
Sure. I think it goes back to what I was saying about the immersion part of it, is getting the SOARs, the recruiters out there, and letting them meet people from all different walks of life that are in these career fields, and picking their brains about attributes and where they grew up, and how things were for them when they joined. A lot of times we kind of elaborate, I grew up this rough and I had to walk uphill both ways, and that kind of stuff. But no, one of the, I think everybody's kind of got their own style when they're trying to determine whether a person will make a good fit for these career fields. And, mine goes back to when I worked with the sorrel in Pennsylvania, where I would just take something away from them. I would just ask, I would watch them do a set of pull-ups, and man, those are great pull-ups. This isn't going to work out for you. And I would walk away and just watch how they react. And the people that we typically want for these career fields are the ones that are tapping me on my shoulder like, hey, wait a minute, guy. I am good enough for this stuff. I really am going to pull this off,
Yeah.
So,
it's like when the guy was getting beat with the broom on the porch. Get out of here. You're too blonde.
You can't talk about Fight Club, man.
That is the first rule.
Absolutely.
So after the development process, and after you get them through that first one, right? Like they get in the door, the pull-ups are there, but so is the character, so is, those attributes that we're looking for, whether it be problem solving or interpersonal communication, all those things, like they're hitting all the flags. We're like, yep, this is it. They get all the way through the initial process. What are some things that they can look at? Like what kind of tools is prep going to give them, not only for basic training, but then like, AFSPEC warfare prep. And then more importantly, what do you see that are mistakes? We've already touched on some of them, but what kind of mistakes are they making in the dev program, whether it's not devoting enough time to mental preparation, or, not making all the development sections or sessions? What are some of those mistakes that you see in the development program?
Well, I'll touch on the first part of that. Is, what are they going to be given when they get to prep, essentially? And that's a pretty awesome place to go, especially if you're the kind of people like I assume the four of us are. You're going to go every single day. You're going to work out 8 hours. You're going to.
It's the agogi. You're going to go. You're just going to go learn to be. You're just going to go get. It's a monster factory. They're making monsters at that place. It's awesome.
Exactly. The strength and conditioning staff has so much experience, and I think two of those guys either worked for or played in the NFL. Have a doctor of sports psychology on staff. You've got run coaches that nitpick every single little biomechanic of every part of your run to make you more efficient. And then you get over to the swim, and they're just all experts, and they're making you more efficient through the water, and they're teaching you breath holds, and covering all this stuff. And this is the place to make mistakes. We're not evaluating you there. We are, but it's not going to hold up against you in a court of law at the land of A&S.
I just imagine a courtroom scenario, be like, objection, overruled.
I would not want to be a lawyer there.
No.
So But some of the mistakes I think that can be avoided, and this is just from my exercise science background, is you can make yourself more durable. You can actually train to have stronger bones and healthier joints. And I think what happens a lot of times is we get into an exercise routine, or we're running, or whatever the case is, and we don't focus enough on recovery, or the off time that we have, we're just sitting on the couch, or we're in front of a computer driving a car, or we're not putting stress that is needed to build stronger bones and make our joints more durable. So I would think, like outside of like your development sessions, go for a walk, get a job working construction, go to Walmart and get the job where the guy's like, throwing the dog food bags all day long. It's just going to build up those tolerances and make you more durable to injury. And there's a lot of different techniques and programs out there, but that would just be my recommendation, is kind of get up off your butt and stay moving as much as possible. And I say this, and I got long-winded on this one. We put watches, little Garmin watches, on these applicants day one of basic training, not prep, not ANS, day one of basic training. And the distance covered day one at basic training was 10 miles.
What? Get out of here, for real?
Yeah.
Huh.
That's crazy. Boy, that's a...
Did you block all that out of your brain? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember walking it all the entire time. And
That's wild. That's crazy.
Yeah, we were pleasantly surprised too. And, we just kept having these little nagging lower extremity injuries, and we couldn't explain them. The shin splints and the blisters on the feet. And we're like, well, these kids aren't walking enough. And sure enough, day one off the bus, 10 miles. I didn't realize that either when I was there. So.
Yeah, that's crazy. And maybe going back, like maybe get a boss that yells at you too. That could be good prep. I don't know. Just throwing it out there.
Somebody that holds you accountable. Like every single time you do something wrong, you pay a penalty for it. Get used to it.
Like if they scream at you and spit hits your face, it's good training. I'm just throwing it out there.
So you're saying get married?
Look, not to go down a rabbit hole of like,
somebody take my wife,
but
please.
Where I stand on this issue, Rick. But I mean, that's interesting because like between the recruiters and prep and the developers, there's like that feedback loop, right? So, what are the developers trying to put all that together? Like, what is really their job, and how much feedback do you guys get from them? And like, I don't know, like what are they looking for, or what do they do for the candidates? And like, what's the interaction between the developers, which I think are misunderstood for the general public, or they just don't understand it, or maybe I'm just stupid. And then the recruiting squadron, because it's kind of unique.
Yeah, and at first it was very much just that they were coming in as developers to do the pass test, and this is prior to the 330th being stood up, really. And they had to be, the developers that is, had to be the ones that really just signed off on that part of the process. When the 330 is stood up until present, it is that they work with each individual and mentor them and guide them, and then they are part of the what we call the go or no go process. So when anybody shows up to basic training or prep or anything outside of reserve and guard, they have had to have gotten a go from their developer, meaning that developer is saying, I'm fairly confident that this is a good applicant. I'm fairly confident that this person's going to make it. That's in collaboration with the special operations recruiter. And, as we know, it's not a perfect process, but it is a working process. So it does require a lot of feedback. And, some of these guys as, chiefs in Pararescue, I sent Johnny down there and I thought Johnny was going to do really well. And Johnny washed out, and they can't wrap their head around it. And
it happens. I mean, the course is what the course is. It's not 91% or, whatever high attrition rate we have now. It's that way for a reason. Always has been. So.
Absolutely. And, when you were dealing with, what I would tell the developers a lot of times is like, when you were dealing with that person, they were going home, getting in their Tommy Hilfiger blanket, cuddling up with their puppy. Everything.
Does Tommy Hilfiger make blankets?
Is that a thing?
I don't even know that's a thing. I mean, it sounds classy AF. You know what I'm saying?
We used to pick on the rich kids when I was back in high school, and we always just assumed that everybody had like Tommy Hilfiger Planet. So,
we need to start making blankets.
Yeah,
just all TH everything.
One's ready blanket with Trent's face on it or something.
I am aware that the Uggs company is now making like blankets and pillows and stuff like that. So the little ugly boots that all the ladies wear around, like you can get an Ugg trash can now. So
I'm not allowed to have an opinion on this.
Yeah, I would have put one in between me and you in my office.
I am contractually obligated to STFU about this specific topic. I'm going to be quiet on it.
All right, hopefully I didn't get you guys in any trouble, but yeah, rabbit hole there. But that's the premise of it, and the developers do reach out quite a bit, and we sent them every single product that ever came out at prep that just gave trend analysis, whether it was from the OFT results or the pass test results, or it was me just standing beside them in training, asking them, "Hey man, I understood that you were a stud back in Minnesota. What's going on? What's the deal?" And I would relay that back to that developer. I didn't necessarily have to work a chain of command to do it. I just picked up the phone and said, "Hey Dan, one of your guys down here, I'm looking in your system, and it seems like this guy was just crushing it when he was working with you on the beach, but now he's over here at Lackey Land and he is not doing so well. So just something to keep an eye on, something to brief the next person up that, hey, you can be the biggest stud in the world, but when I have to make you, pull CQ duty in the middle of the night and you don't get that 8 hours of, perfect rest, could throw you off a little bit." So, well,
and we've talked about that before. I think the stress that they're not anticipating just joining the military and moving away from home and all the new stuff and, showering with a whole bunch of people in an open bay and all that other kind of stuff that, the stress will affect you and decrease your performance no matter what kind of stress it is. So like, while BMT is not necessarily physically difficult, like you said, if you come from Minnesota and you come to San Antonio, it's a lot of changes for your brain to process all at the same time. So y'all need to be ready for that stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, just 20 minutes ago, my phone overheated and I was just chilling in my garage. So
no one's going to be able to tell
climate down here
at all. It's not like your whole background changed or anything.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. It's all the same. You guys that are listening don't know. Check the YouTube channel.
Yeah, check out the YouTube.
Yeah, but I think like what you're talking about is a huge deal also, because those guys that start out with a lot of enthusiasm because they're all pumped up. They just finished listening to one of the podcasts and they're like, I'm going to go crush this. And that's the motivation that everyone talks about. Like, motivation is the only thing that's going to make you through it. Yeah, it'll get you through sometimes. But, at the end state, you have to have that purpose for what's going to drive you through those more difficult times. I kind of liken it to what it's like to just start up on a mountain. You say, I'm going to start up on this 10 mile hike or whatever. And you are super enthusiastic, and then by mile 5, you have blisters all over your feet. You're super tired, like the sun's beating down on you. You're like, wow, this is really way harder. And then your friend's like, we could just, go back down now, hit it up again later. And then, you got to have that purpose. You could be like, nope, you got to be that person I told my family and I told everyone that I'm going to finish this, and we're going to climb up to the top. We're going to get a freaking picture at the top and finish this thing out. So don't be that guy that's like, we could just turn around or whatever. It's the same kind of deal, You start out with that enthusiasm halfway through, and all the reality hits, all the foot pain and all the other, you run out of food, water, whatever it is. You didn't plan correctly, and you just end up in Hurtville, and you're like, I could probably just turn back. Maybe I'll go back again another day. Or you plan correctly, pack correctly, and you're with a lot of good friends that are going to push you, and you make it to the top. So it's pretty much, the same type of deal. And it's hard to tell those guys that are actually going to be able to do it. Like you were saying, I was, an indoc instructor. My job was to actually put these guys through it, and I would see them at their worst times, but I would still had trouble figuring out like, this guy is definitely going to make it. Cause we had candidates that were like 120 solid indoc push-ups. Like no joke. We were like
physical specimens, man. You're like, oh, this guy's good.
We're like, no way. you counted wrong. Like, we'll just go up to each other like, you counted wrong. The sheet's wrong. I'm gonna eval him next week.
Like Santa Claus over here giving people 120
exactly.
push-ups.
Freaking Santa Claus. And then I'd eval him and like, damn, all right.
This is Brian. This is Brian with cones. Shh. It's okay. It's okay, guys. Shh. It's okay. It's okay.
No, I was the one that re-evaled him. It depended on how much I liked him, right? No, I'm just kidding. But, it just, and then that same guy would quit a week later. So obviously, something hit him, something he didn't plan for hit him, and he was just like, I can't do this. And he leaves, and he was a stud. So it's difficult to nail down those guys.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about a support group too, and you mentioned that, and you're just more likely to succeed with the same mindset people around you. And I've heard Sigmiller talk about this with guys that were struggling. It's like, next time you're struggling at the pool, lock eyes with the dude next to you, and just give him a little wink or thumbs up or something. Just realize that you're not the only one that's sucking right now. It's sucking for everybody, and enough times not. That's enough to push a person just that one extra second or one extra minute that it took to not SIE that day. So
yeah, definitely,
yep, totally.
I'd say starting with a team is huge. Is there anything in particular if a guy was like, I just watched, whatever video on social media and I want to do that for a job, what would you say is the next best step for them to take in order to start on that job and begin their SW journey, so to speak?
Sure. And man, I say this all the time, the guys are in training and they've got a big log on their shoulder, or, it's hot and cold or wet or whatever the case is. I'm like, bet you didn't see this on YouTube, did you? There's just so much stuff out there. But yeah, so if you're out there right now, you're listening, and the easiest way to do this is to go to airforce.com. They have a special warfare tab right there, and it gives you a location for your nearest special operations or special warfare recruiter, whatever they're calling themselves these days. But other than that, you can also go to any Air Force recruiting office, and they will put you through the normal qualifications it takes to join the Air Force. And you ask to be referred to the special operations recruiter. And that's where you will meet your developer and you will get rocking with the stuff. So that's the easiest way to explain it, if that makes sense.
I don't know if we've ever said that the first step is to go see a recruiter.
Holy cow. How many times have we copied and pasted the Air Force link in emails? It's got to be 6 to 7 million times.
And just because I get this question also, do they have to contact specifically an SW recruiter in order to get into SW?
So they don't. They, just like I just said, they can go to a normal Air Force recruiter and get referred over. Unfortunately, there's, I think, 100 special operations recruiters in the whole world. And a lot of times you're just not near. If you grew up in a rural area, we probably don't have that recruiter near you. But the next big town over is going to have an Air Force recruiter, and they can work it and do just like we're doing right here, a Zoom call. Just try to get to know you a little bit and then schedule you to come out to the next pass test or next development session or whatever the case is. And that gets pretty tough. And that's some of the challenges that developers have out there, is that some of these applicants live 8-9 hours away. How can we ask this person 2 or 3 times a month to show up for a development session? And that's part of the things that we're working on, is to get more developers out, more SOARs out there. But for now, no, you just, contact the Air Force. And just like you guys are saying, it's that redundant thing. I believe every time I had to do an interview, I had to mention airforce.com like a minimum of 6 times. So it was
6 times. Yeah, because that's how many times it takes to infect into somebody's brain like Inception and have them remember it.
Yeah.
And also the marketing experience.
The minimum amount of ads that are in a video, so they skip through it and they have to listen to the thing again.
Perfect.
So along that same vein, for those guys, like you're saying, we're minimal manning for recruiting right now. Those guys that are interested in becoming an SW recruiter, what would you tell them how they go about doing that?
And, if you are a beret wearer and you would like to come over and do, special warfare recruiting, that's pretty much a direct link. Like you can go straight in. One of the good examples, right? San Antonio, we had a PJ that crossed over, and now he's the local San Antonio special operations recruiter. Otherwise, if
that's old Grizzle Bear, is it not?
Grizzbiz.
It's old Grizzbiz. It's Grumpy Grizzle Bear Jake Groves.
So actually, I was talking about Chris Tomes. So.
Christopher.
Tomes. Tomes himself.
Yeah.
Tomes.
So I'm sure he'll see this and get a laugh out of that. But yeah, for him, it was a no-brainer. We weren't going to send this guy to do regular recruiting, which is an awesome gig. His better fit would have been to go to special warfare recruiting, where he's at now. So.
Dude, that dude almost talked me into becoming a PJ. Like
close, right?
17 years, yeah.
Yeah,
like,
no, I'm telling you.
I'm be like you.
He could sell, ketchup popsicles to Inuits in the snow. So we're going to get to our last question. We always ask our guests to come on, and you're going to have a particular insight that we're excited to hear. But, man, boil it down. Final answer. You got one piece of advice that you can give to everybody out there that's on the grind for A&S right now. We get 10, 12, 15 DMs a day of people just out there crushing it. And we always repost your videos, by the way. So send them in. We love seeing you guys getting after it. And then it motivates us to get out and get our own work out as well. But so you got one thing, Rick, that you can tell all those people, those guys, those gals that are on the grind right now, the one piece of advice for how they can be successful in A&S. What is it? Go.
Other than everything we've talked about, I would say be too dumb to quit. And the reason that I say just absolutely be too dumb to quit is because a lot of things in A&S are untimed. They're unknown distance. They're, supposed to see how you will react, not knowing how far you got to go. And if you quit on mile 1 and all you had to do was go 1.1 miles, that's pretty damn silly. So just be too dumb to quit, man. That's my answer.
And that supports my ASVAB theory. If you go back a couple episodes that we were talking about.
Perfect.
There's a perfect, not too smart. You don't want to do too well on the ASVAB because you're like, why? You start why am I here? This doesn't make any sense.
Overthinking everything. And you're laying in bed at night and you're like, man, what is the solution to this problem that I'm having? And there is no solution.
They were weighed down by that big old brain of theirs. It sunk them to the bottom.
Your instructor writes you paperwork and they get all their homonyms wrong, and you're just like, I shouldn't be here. This is ridiculous. So,
Sergeant, that's the wrong there usage.
Actually, that should be EG and not IE.
Drop. That's cool. I can spell drop all day.
Drop. Just drop. Put your feet up on that table, genius.
So,
how smart are you now, college boy?
College boy. Hey, Rick, any save rounds for anybody before we kind of wrap this thing up? Anything you want to say, or any way to get a hold of you?
Well, like I said, man, I'm retired, but if you guys need to get a hold of me.
You quit the Air Force.
I did. Finally, SIU. So, but no, this is a true passion of mine. If I could get back into it in a civilian format, I would do it in a blink of an eye. I love the community. I love all you guys. If anybody has any questions for me, I'm sure you can reach out through One's Ready. I'm one phone call away, one text or Facebook message or whatever you want to do to get a hold of me. I'm glad to help. So
awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. If you don't know out there, Rick, he was there from the beginning. He spent a lot of time helping everybody out. He was there for a lot of the physical sessions at prep and also heard a lot of the counseling. So he knows a lot about everything and is also on the road all the time trying to get y'all in the door and give you the best information possible. So, man, we appreciate you coming on. And, so things we talked about today, take the opportunity, get out there, go to a recruiter. I don't know if we want to hit that again. Well, how many times is that this episode? 4, 5, 6? Go see a recruiter.
It's at least 4 of us.
Yeah,
easy.
We'll put another one in the comments.
Airforce.com, everybody. Check out the link in our bio. I'll pin the comment on YouTube as well. Airforce.com.
Yeah, the system isn't easy, and there's going to be challenges just to get into the Air Force, but a lot of the onus is on you to do what you need to do, get to the people you need to get to, and get your mindset where it needs to be. And just like we say all the time, you get there, you get through the pipeline, you get on team. One thing I'm 100% confident about is if you're a hard worker and you make it, it's 100% worth it. So go ahead and hit up that recruiter if you want to get in. So that's it for this episode. Make sure you like us, subscribe, leave comments. I want to thank the other companies real quick: Everly Stock, Strikeforce Energy, Alpha Brew Coffee, Adirex Pomade. Did I miss anybody? We're getting pretty big now.
I think we're good. I think you hit all of them.
I mean, we're pretty popular.
Drink
We're almost getting to 2 hands.
Hoist, we forgot. Yeah.
Hoist.
Hoist. Thanks,
Sorry, guys. Love you. Save my life every day. And get out there, train hard, accomplish all your goals, be the person you want to be. This one's Ready signing off, and we'll catch you next time.
Train hard, everybody.
Later.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.